guys, and welcome. Today we are looking at the world in the year 1444. Now, not everything is as accurate as it should be, but it's almost impossible to have all the countries and areas be very accurate from that time period. This is a game that I've played a lot of hours, and most of the world, countries and areas I know because of this game. Usually you start by picking a country and you do not see the whole map, but I used some console commands to check it. Now, because America wasn't discovered yet, there is not much you can see because this was before the colonization of which started with Portugal. So there's no Brazil or Argentina or America or Canada, Mexico. There are some famous countries, and the more I zoom in, you will start to see like the armies of those populations, but today we're talking about the countries themselves. So here you have the Aztecs, and they were like the strongest in like America, in these continents, North and South America. Here you have the Cusco. I'm not familiar with all the other ones, but we will focus more on Europe because here you have like the Shoshone and the Comanche. If you're a United States citizen, you will know. Not only if you're a United States citizen, but you will generally know these names and places, the Navajo. So these are all popular and famous places. But yeah, let's start with, let's start with Africa. As you can see, South Africa wasn't a thing, and it wasn't colonized, so it's just empty lands. You have Congo over here, and in our current timeline, Congo is a very big country. You have Mutapa, you have Gilwa. This is Madagascar, but as you can see, it's all separate tribes, I guess. Here in like Central Africa, you have what was once the strongest, African country, if you can say it, or empire, and that is Mali. There are some popular places like Timbuktu. I think Timbuktu is now a city. And do not know from which country, but it's not a country itself as far as I remember. You have the Songhai, and you have some others that are not as popular. Then if we go a bit to the east, you have Ajuran, Marine, Atal. These are like here we have somewhere the religious map mode. Let me see religion, and as you can see, these are all Muslim countries except for the fetishists and a little bit of Coptic. For the rest, you can see it's animist, totemist, Catholic. In this age, you had the Orthodox because the Great Schism already happened, and you had Catholics. It was not until like a couple of decades later that reformists sprung up. So the Anglican faith and what was like the Protestant faiths as we know them today. can see that in this timeline, wait, we were at Africa, so let's go further. Then you had the Mamelukes. As far as I know, the Mamelukes were the first nation or army that defeated a Mongol army, and the Mamluks are basically, as far as my knowledge goes, were slaves. So it was a nation of slaves, and they were very strong. I think they even rivaled the Ottomans. Like in this game, 9 out of 10 times they rival the Ottomans. And as you can see here, they also do it. And the Ottomans usually do the same, like Mamluks. You had Tunis. In our current day and age, Tunisia, it's Tunisia, and it's a lot smaller than it is in this timeline. You have Fezzan, Jared, Togurt, which are all, I guess, Berber tribes, which are in the game themselves. It's impossible to survive as them. You had a country or area called Tlemcen. You had, and you still have, Morocco, which is a decently sized or also with strength. And their vassals like this, Tafilat, Sus, and Abda. And here you even have Marrakesh, which is not part of Morocco, and as far as I know, Marrakesh is the capital of Morocco in our current time. This piece of land was owned by Portugal. Here you had Granada, which is the leftover of the Muslims that held Spain for a very long time. And as you can see, a nice way to go to Europe. There wasn't such a thing as Spain. It was called Castile, and even before that you had multiple kingdoms. But you have Aragon that held lands all the way to what is currently Italy, and even Naples was a vassal of Aragon. So here it shows as another color, but it is a vassal of Aragon. You had Portugal, and what is crazy is that Portugal, since this age, was an ally to England. So from 1444, and the relations between England and Portugal are still very good. And as you can see, the borders almost haven't changed since then. You had a small country here called Navarra, and you had the Papal States, which actually held lands, and a lot of lands. Currently, you have, not the Papal States, but the Vatican, which is in Rome, and it's just a very small piece over here, the Vatican City. But as you can see here, they held more lands than this, and at some point in time even more than this. Also here they have a piece in France. I'm telling you, these ages were very weird, because France was pretty strong, but they weren't like centralized. All this blue here is France. They had a lot of vassals, as you can see here. All these small pieces were vassals of France. And you had Brittany, which was not really strong, but survived for a pretty long time. It was not a part of France, nor were they allied with France. was pretty strong as a nation. They also had a lot of vassals here in the Netherlands, what is now the Netherlands and Belgium. They were vassals of Burgundy. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see it better. Like Luxembourg was from Burgundy, and Flanders and a lot of Dutch states were from Burgundy. An event happened in which Austria gained a lot of lands after the death of a Burgundian ruler, and the Netherlands was also free, I guess. As you can see here, England was pretty strong. The borders were basically the same as they are now. Now I'm not sure if this is also a part of England, or I don't think it is. But they had a lot of land in France, as you can see. Eventually there were wars, and France reconquered everything. This timeline also is the timeline in which, like, in a couple of years or months, France also claims Maine, and depending on if the English refuse or not, the French declare war, and 9 out of 10 times France wins and gets a lot of land back in the war. Here you have what we currently know as Ireland, and I played this in which you win, you declare wars, and you have a mission like to create Ireland, which is very hard because you start as one of these smaller lands like Munster or Desmond. The problem is that this piece of land is from England, and usually England also allies or supports one of these other smaller ones, so you have to make sure to get allied with France so that England doesn't attack you. And basically, as you can see, Ireland wasn't as we know Ireland today. They were all separate, small, I guess, duchies or kingdoms. Let me see if I can see what they were. No, it doesn't say it. Unfortunately, I haven't played this in a long time, so I don't really know where it says what it was. Here you have Scotland, which is always an ally to France. I mean, not an ally, but it's guaranteed by France. And the French and the Scottish have a long time friendship or something because they have a common enemy, which is England. King Henry VI of Lancaster. And as you can see here also, not everything was as we know it, because there was such a thing as the Isles, and they were a vassal of Scotland, but it wasn't Scotland itself. And over here you have some islands that are owned by Norway, which I don't know if it's still the case. Here, what is now Iceland is also Norway, and as you can see, Greenland wasn't colonized yet. Well, I tried to remove these army stacks, but you have to go by country to remove them, so, and they look pretty nice. But let's focus on this, like German, what is currently Germany. As you can see, nothing was, how should I say it? Germany, as we know Germany today, the strongest kingdoms or duchies were Austria, most influential and strongest dynasties, the Habsburgs. Like, if you're a history guy like me, there's no way you haven't heard of the Habsburgs. Basically, you had Austria, Bohemia, Brandenburg, and some others. Here you have the Teutonic Order, which would become Prussia, but they are not part of the Holy Roman Empire. Now, you would think that for a larger nation like England or France, it would be very easy to get in Europe and take over everything, but there was such a thing as the Holy Roman Empire, and basically you had a ruler, in this case Austria, and Austria was it for most of the history of the Holy Roman Empire. And it was like a small European Union, because or a small NATO. If someone from outside the Holy Roman Empire attacked someone in it, it triggered a war with the emperor. So let's say if Poland attacked Bohemia, they would automatically be in war with Austria and probably other HRE nations. During this time period, you also have to fight to keep the Italian states like Milan in the HRE, which is very hard to do, and they do leave like they did historically. And as you can see, Italy is all scattered, and Italy formed only in, I think, 1800 something. So we have Naples, you have the Pope, a very strong trading nation, Genoa. You have Venice, which is, I think, the strongest trading nation, and it was also a very strong and formidable force. You have Milan, which is next to Venice, the strongest in the Italian peninsula. As you can see, Venice had all these lands. They had currently Croatian lands. They had here what is current day Albania lands, islands. They had Crete. They had a lot of land, and they were the only ones who could trade with the Ottomans as a European Catholic nation. You have Austria, which was a very strong country, and the leader of the HRE. I think it went by election. I'm not gonna talk about all these small princedoms. You had Hungary, which was very strong and formidable opponent, but as you can see, they have no legal heir, and eventually Austria in some way became the ruler over Hungary, and it was also, it was like a dual rulership, because it was the Austro-Hungarian empire or kingdom, and as you can see, Croatia was a junior partner of Hungary, so Austria eventually got everything over here, and they were the biggest and like the mortal enemy of the Ottomans, which we will discuss in a bit. But you had Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia. Here you had Herzegovina. You have Ragusa, which is basically Dalmatia in the current age. You had Albania, of course. Here you even had, let's see, this is Epirus, Athens, and the good old Byzantium. They still had Constantinople over here. This was a couple of, I think, years or decades before the Ottomans completely destroyed the Byzantine Empire, if you could call it that. So a lot of people think that the Ottomans and at war with the Byzantines when they conquered them, that it was what they would say a fair fight. But if you compare the strength of Byzantium, let's say here 8k soldiers and the Ottomans 29k, yeah, it was not comparable. Of course, before that the Ottomans had to become stronger, and in this game, in this current age, the Ottoman nation is the strongest in the whole world, I think, except for Ming dynasty. But it's impossible for them to come in contact with each other. But basically, if you pick the Ottomans and you're pretty decent in this game, it's like a free run. Even playing on the hardest mode, it's easy peasy. Then you had some other smaller nations still, like Karaman, which almost has a same flag as Israel in our current timeline. And you had Ramazan, Kandar, Trebizond, you had Georgia, you had another pretty strong nation, you had Karakoyunlu and you had Akkoyunlu. And before we go further to the east, let me take care of the rest of Europe. You had Denmark, which is almost the same as it is in its current age, except for these parts over here, which they don't have anymore, but it's Sweden. And the thing is, Denmark had Sweden and Norway in their personal union, so they were like the overlords of Norway and Sweden. So it was a very strong, let me see if I can, is there a political, diplomatic Denmark? Yeah, as you can see, Denmark was the ruler over here. Same goes for France. Everything that is not green, like everything that's a lighter tint of green, was also like part of them. And Sweden was pretty big because they also had current day Finland under their control. Then you had Wallachia, and Wallachia is basically where Dracula is from, at least the guy that we know as Dracula, Count Dracula. You see, Vlad the Impaler. Wallachia is current day Romania, or was it Bulgaria? I think Romania. And even though they are a small nation, they still put up a decent fight against the Ottomans. You have Moldavia over here. Poland was a very weirdly shaped nation in this age. As you can see, they were the mortal enemies of the Teutonic Order because of history, of course. And Lithuania. Lithuania is currently, I think, somewhere over here, or I'm not sure, but look at how strong and big, how big and strong they were indeed. Eventually, they became, in marriage, Poland became the sort of ruler of Lithuania, and it became a country called the Commonwealth, and they had a big chunk of land over here, and they helped a lot against the Ottomans. Where the Baltic states are currently, you had the Livonian Order and Riga, which was a trade nation. And what we currently know as Russia, of course, wasn't Russia, as you can see. everything was uncolonized, and you had like Uzbek, Oirat, Kazan, Nogai, great horde. At the start of the game, if you pick the country, Muscovy, you're pretty strong, but you have a lot of vassals that help you in wars. Let me see if I can. You see, you have Perm, you have Yaroslav Rostov, Peluzero, Pskov. So all these nations, even though they don't have large armies, still 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, they will all come to your help if you are indeed in good relations with them. And Muscovy sounds familiar, and that is because Moscow, right? Where is it? Moscow. That is the capital of Muscovy. Here you have Novgorod, which is also a very popular and not so strong nation, even though they look large. The lands are like not valuable or fertile, so they're not that strong, and pretty much it's almost impossible for them to make a decent ally in the game, and quickly Muscovy can conquer them, and from there they can go down to the hordes, and these are Muslim hordes, as you can see over here. Sunni, also Sunni and Sunni. We can take the religious map mode. So as you can see, Islam spread a lot over here. You also had the Tengri religion, Hindu, Confucian, and a couple of other smaller ones, Shinto. So basically, Muscovy first conquered everything here, and from there all the way to Crimea, because Crimea here, as you can see, is also Islamic, and currently Crimea is just this island, but Crimea itself was also a bit big, and here you can see Genoa, and Genoa is the Italian trading nation or state. So lands and maps and borders were very weird in this age. You had the remainders of the Mongolian hordes, which were called Khanats. Here you have Circassia. Maybe you've ever heard of Circassians. You have Georgia. Basically, and there is no Armenia here. I don't know how they eventually formed again, but in this particular timeline, there wasn't one. Even though these lands are very huge and these countries here are humongous, the lands themselves are almost worthless and underdeveloped. So even though they start off pretty strong with 18k troops, it's very fast. They are no match to the more like Western powers, but in the beginning they are very strong. Here you have, let me go with Arabia. As you can see, there wasn't such a thing as like a united Arabia. There wasn't a Saudi Arabia. Here you had Syria, and a lot of it has changed since then. So you had Najd, Shamar, Medina, Hijaz. Current day Yemen was only this here. Then as far as I remember, yeah. Or no, wait, this here, but wait, wasn't this? I'm not sure, but basically, this was the Arabian Peninsula. I mean, still is, but it's not as you know it today. Here we have Persia or current day Iran. You had Afghanistan, Ajam, Fars, and Fars or Farsi is also a language people still use. Khorasan, Transoxiana, and Timurids, which was ruled by a sultan. And the Timurids were one of the strongest, maybe even stronger than the Ottomans. But by disasters and other stuff, and I think also the leader having no heir, it fell apart pretty hard. But as you can see, if I go to diplomatic mode, you can see that all these are vassals of the Timurids. Then you have Balochistan, which is current day Pakistan, as far as I know. India was very broken up. Here you have Delhi, Jaunpur, Bengal. Bengal is a famous name or word, and they were pretty strong in that time. You have Malwa, you have Bahmanis, Vijayanagar. This was a very funny name. Vijayanagar, but if you know what I mean, Vijayanagar. I don't want to offend anyone, but hey, what's funny is funny. I don't care. And here you had basically the Uzbeks, Oirat, Mongolia, which was a 8K army. This was nothing from what it used to be. They used to have the whole world from here to here. Then you have these tribes which are actually pretty strong. One of these tribes over here, I don't know which one, either this or this one, actually conquered the whole of China and created its own dynasty. I don't know if it's king or not, but the Ming dynasty was no more. Ming is on paper very strong, 48,000 troops, 48k troops, and that's, if you compare it to everything around them, like 6k, 17, 8, 10, is very strong. Also, the fleet is strong, but they are only strong on paper, because in this age, a lot of crazy things happened internally and externally, which made them like break. In which, like with 20k troops, you can demolish their 60k troops in a head-on war. Here you have like Vietnam, Thai Viet, Khmer, and all the countries that you actually do not remember or know, because here you have Thailand, Vietnam, and of course other countries which formed much later. Here we got Indonesia, which first of all wasn't even like, some places weren't even colonized, and were all separate nations, or however you want to call them. As you can see over here, Australia was not colonized, so you had, and New Zealand also wasn't. So you had those tribes, or what are they called, tribes? Like the natives. So everything here, new, so it's called New South Wales, Australia, but it's not colonized yet, so it could have never have that name. Gobi Gobi. And then you have like these, like it's not even worth it playing with these nations. Like it's, I don't know what you should do or could. And as you can see here, Korea was a whole nation actually. Before I think Japan invaded them years later. But it's crazy to see Korea being one nation under one flag. Here you have Japan. I will first zoom out to show you that Japan wasn't one country. You had the, what's it called? Ashikaga. Where is he? Kyoto. Whoever held Kyoto, as far as I know, right, was the shogun. Or, yeah, here you can see has the following daimyos. So every one who held Kyoto was the I don't know what's it called, but he was the leader of them all, and they had separate wars, but never with the leader itself. And you had a lot of these. What are they? Yeah, like duchies, but I don't think they were called that in Japanese. But everything was separate, and it was a very nice time playing with these guys, the Usagi, to conquer everything in the north and then go down to eventually form Japan. Yeah, I think I discussed everything, and I hope you liked it. Let me know, because I can also show you things of different timelines and also in a different game from ages before and ages afterwards. I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching once again. Hope you sleep well. I wish you a good day and a good life. See you next time. Through this way, I would like to give a special thanks to Phil at Excelsior7, Dominic Vane, Rob, Denise, Antox, Sam B, Sillard Jacob, and Noah Ross. Thank you. Have a good day and have a good life.